help you understand what's going on that most people don't even have a clue about. They can feel it. They're frustrated. They're mad. They're fighting with each other. Why? Well, I'm going to show you why. Watch this video and you'll understand. Hey, this is Greg with HomeSmart. I've got a video for you with some information that I think is going to freak you out. So we've got 5 charts here that are going to show you why housing feels so unaffordable. It's not only housing prices, it's not only interest rates, it's something different. So I'll show you. You're going to be blown away by this. It's a little bit of a cancer diagnosis, to be honest. There's an old saying that if you read the news, you're misinformed. If you don't read the news, you're uninformed. But this is a really interesting set of slides that I want to show you real quick. We'll say about problems or things that are bad. You want to know the problem. So anytime you're trying to figure something out or diagnose something, finding the problem is half the answer. In school, the teacher always gave you the problem. Life doesn't do that. Once you define the problem, then you can get somewhere. Let's take a look at housing, the affordability problem that we're having, figure out where we are in this cycle, and help you understand what's going on that most people don't even have a clue about. They can feel it. They're frustrated. They're mad. They're fighting with each other. Why? Well, I'm going to show you why. Watch this video and you'll understand. We all know when we buy a coffee, that coffee costs a certain number of dollars. So if a coffee is $6, then that coffee is denominated in dollars. If you were in Mexico, it's going to be pesos, right? We're going to take a look at housing denominated in all of these different things and figure out why does it feel so expensive? What's going on? First one we're going to look at, housing divided in M2. So M2 is the money supply, things that are liquid, right? So if we look at this, if you look at the chart of M2 and housing prices, they're both going up pretty dang exponentially, right? However, they're related. They oscillate. It's not that bad, right? So is housing expensive in relating to the money supply? Well, it sure was in 2006 and a little bit in 2022 or 2022, a little bit in the 70s and 80s, right? But not that bad right now. It's kind of right in the middle, right? So that's not it. It's not just M2. What about gold? So no, if you look at this one, it's 95. So this is how many ounces of gold it takes to buy a median house. Right now it's 95. During the dot-com boom, when nobody was hoarding gold, it was almost 600 ounces, right? And then 10 years later in 2011, you needed like 70 ounces to buy a house after the housing market crashed and gold popped. So that's pretty crazy. So if you ask yourself, is housing expensive in gold? The answer is no. What about the S&P 500? Now, if this was a stock and the index was $1, back in the 80s, you would have needed almost 780 of them to buy a house. 780 S&Ps. Now you only need 57, right? So housing is not expensive in the S&P, denominated in S&P. So what in the heck is it? Well, I'm going to show you. So here is income. So this is housing denominated in people's income. Back in the 70s, you needed to work for about 1.5 years to buy a house. If that was where all of your money went and there was no tax, right? Now, you have to work for 4.1 years, right? And this is family income. Why is that important? Maybe you already know. However, the root cause is even worse than this. So take a look at this next chart. This is individual income. So back in the 70s, almost everybody was a single family earner. Now, dual income families, right? So husband and wife both work. So when you look at this chart and you see that it's 9.5, basically it's your annual income with no taxes, you have to work for 9.5 years to be able to pay for an entire house, right? Versus back in the 70s, where it looks like it's about 1 to 1.5. Pretty wild. This is starting to shed the light on why we're all feeling this pinch, right? Why housing's expensive. It's not the price of the house. It's not necessarily interest rates. Interest rates for the majority of these charts are higher than they are today. So what is it? It's income. Our incomes have not kept up. So is that inflation? Sort of, right? But for some reason, our income has not inflated as fast as everything else. So that is the rub. That's what's frustrating. That's why you're feeling it. That's why when you go and you get something worked on in your car, it feels like a sticker shock. That's why you're frustrated when you go out to eat. It feels like everybody's ripping each other off. They're not. They're trying to play catch up for years of lost income, right? What do you do with this information? Well, any good investor will tell you, don't fight the trend, right? Trying to pick when the trend's going to change is going to make you broke. So if this is the trend that incomes are not keeping up with assets and assets are going up in value, but incomes are not going up fast enough, what should you do with your income? Buy assets, right? You can look at the people from the 1970s that bought assets. They're the wealthy ones. Anybody who has accumulated a decent amount of assets over the last 20 years is doing fine. So the moral of the story, the purpose of your income should be for you to accumulate assets first and foremost. All the other stuff can come later, right? Don't put your trust in the dollar. Don't put your trust in the government to help you. This has been going on forever. That is the biggest thing that I'm seeing right now.